What should we be doing differently now we've learned about 2.0?
Are you writing high-quality software?
I like to run high quality software. I want to do enterprise stuff.
That's the most important thing.
So the routing stuff really blew my mind. So, okay, it's all going to be official. I can make these complicated dashboardy, widget fill things. What should I do differently?
Router is going to be backported to 1.3, so you can actually start using future concepts or future features of Angular in 1.3. Something Brian's working on, and if it doesn't get it done, then we can go on.
So the backport happens before 2.0.
Yes. The idea. But is this on? Okay. Yeah. The idea is that we have one code base, and then we use Tracer to be able to generate code that works well with Angular 1. So you'll see more about that soon. I can't tell you how to use it until I finish it. So. The thing to do there is just to follow me on Twitter. Just say Brian's done yet.
So the router backport is motivated by the material design effort. We need a better router to be able to achieve some of the goals we have in the material design, Angular material project. So that's why that's the primary reason. And side benefit is that you guys get to use the new router sooner than.
And this will also kind of give you a sneak peek as to how you'll kind of structure your apps on a high level.
But generally speaking, like your question was about what should you be doing, I'd say just keep on having fun, write good software, follow best practices, read up on new specs, the ES6 web components, try to think about how you're gonna apply this in your day-to-day work. But I wouldn't try to worry too much about 2.0. You can definitely read up on what we have so far. There are going to be some videos posted from the NG Europe conference, which will explain some of the things. And just stay in touch, follow the progress.
Could you please tell us a little bit about the new router in 2.0? Is it going to be state-oriented, similar to UI router, or what kind of functionality you're going to borrow from UI router, and what new stuff you're going to introduce?
The main thing is state handling and nesting. So we want to make it possible to have a router that is portable and has several layers. So you could possibly create applications that drop application to application with the router, just looking into the parent router. Lazy code loading, parallel states, stuff specific for mobile applications. Right?
That's pretty much it. We spoke at length with the gentleman who worked on UI router to make sure that we're capturing all of the same use cases. It's a totally separate implementation, but we want to make sure that anyone using UI router can do the same types of things that they want to do, or that they've been doing with UI router with Angular router. So if there's any specific case that you can see mentioned in our design documents or anything like that, feel free to file an issue on GitHub or something like this. We want to make it easy to do the sort of things people are already doing.
So are you planning it to be backwards compatible to 1.3 as well? Did I read that correctly?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Is that going to be backwards compatible to the 1.3 router or not?
Do you want it to be?
I don't know. Would make migrations easier? Yes.
But then you wouldn't get any benefits of, you really want a different kind of router, and that requires making changes. So the goal is we're not going to change the default router that's in Angular now. We're going to ship this new router as a separate project, and you can just start using it. It's going to be off-limit.
Yeah, and this will also make it easier for us to iterate on it. So the Angular 1.3 releases won't be tied to releases for this router, which means you'll get more of the router faster.
Any questions at the back? Just picking up on the theme of what we should be doing, are there any kind of habits we should be getting out of now? Things that people generally do that they can't do nowadays?
Can you repeat the question? I'm not sure.
Are there any kind of habits we should get out of now in preparation for 2 when it comes out?
I don't know.
You know what we're doing.
I would say like there is nothing when it comes to like best practices that would now discourage you. Let's say, this used to be best practice up until last week, and now all of a sudden it's a bad practice. You shouldn't do it. There's nothing like that. People I know is still a moving target, so we put a lot of effort into thinking like what is it that we want to achieve and how it all could fit together. But we don't have enough code to build yet for you to be able to build anything. We have prototypes that we put together. We have some demos that we just build for ourselves to feel more confident about these ideas, to be able to present them to you. But it's still in the early days. So when it comes to avoiding things, I would just say, build the best 1x app you can today, and don't worry about 2.0 until it's rolled out.
I think I might actually have something to answer your question. It's not related to Angular 2.0 at all, but I think in general, for me, testing works pretty well. I think like writing testable code, like writing tests helps me to design better architecture, I think. And also, we've been always saying that because of testing, we kind of showed us that a global mutable state is evil. So I think actually any shared mutable state is kind of dangerous. So my experience is that it's always good to be careful with mutable state. I think that's pretty general advice to any software level.
But this is not new. This is like general best practices that should have been followed even before we made any 2.0 announcements.
Yeah, that's like general software. If you want even more general outside software, then I would say follow your heart.
I saw there was the movement away from scopes and controllers to components. Will that mean that scopes are going away entirely in Angular 2.0? And is there, in terms of the directional flow, is there a push to have more one-way flows?
I think to your one-way flow, yes. Like I've been trying really hard to get very single-way flow. I think that's talking about all these React and Flux things. That's the core. That's the best idea that they brought. I think that's really good. And I think yes, we're trying to achieve that.
When it comes to scopes are not going away completely. They are just going away in terms of how you are used to interact with them. So in Angular 1x, the scopes are explicit. It's an object that you can interact with. Whereas in Angular 2, our intention is to make the implicit scope. It's something that is out there for you. You don't have to think about it. Like think of JavaScript. JavaScript, you're not managing scopes. They are just there, and unless you're dealing with for loops before ES sticks, they mostly work fine. So our intention is just to use implicit scoping in your template so that you don't have to think about it. We figured out that Rodney mentioned this, like that scopes have many responsibilities in 1x, and by splitting up the responsibilities into different places, you can actually significantly simplify how you need to think about Angular application. So $scope is going away, but scoping and the concept of lexical scopes will remain in Angular applications. It's just going to be simplified, and it's also going to allow us to improve the performance of applications.
And if you want to like preview of how it will be, you could use the controller as syntax. So
The controller,
You just did one.
yeah, the controller as syntax was like when we started to think about, how could we improve some of the issues we saw with the $scope in Angular 1x. And in 1.3, there are several improvements that make it easier to use controller as. You can use them in interact with schema much more easily. So maybe that's like one of the things that you could start doing more if you want to prepare for Angular 2.
Well, if
So
they
that's
we can start using Angular 0.9 before we split.
That is Angular 0.9.
So there's quite a lot of best practices listed by John Pafno, and that's one of them, isn't it? So
Yeah,
that
I
might be-
reviewed the style guide by John Papa.
yeah,
There are still a few things that we're going to work on, but for the most part, it's really like working through it.
okay, so that's an example of best practice. But
Yeah.
for one, yeah.
There are still some changes that we're discussing, but it's a really good start. And we're going to improve the style guide slightly.
Thank you. This probably be off topic. I'm currently working with Google Apps for Education, and we're trying to promote social interaction among students in Africa. And the topics there are it's kind of behind. So, do you have any suggestions on how we can encourage youngsters to get into the AngularJS sort of mindset?
Are they already software developers?
Yes, we do have software developers, but much of the software developers in Africa are dominated by Microsoft. I have nothing against that, but we try to encourage open source as well, which is working quite well. But what we try to do is we're coming from the basics. We don't want to sort of create a situation where they're lagging behind all the time and catching up. So try to see how we encourage them to get involved in the current.
Have you thought of starting like a hackathon or something? I see that being a very successful model where there are a few presentations in the morning and then maybe some suggestions of what people could build, and then have the rest of the day just split people into groups and just hack on the app and try to build it. I saw that model in the past, and it's very successful. It's fun. It's fun for people. People like to code with other people, and they learn a lot more than when they are at home trying to put technology on their own.
And there's free food, usually.
Usually, yeah.
Food helps. Food helps.
By the way, we've got hackers guild. They just setting up.
Sorry.
Hackers guild. Working with GitHub. I think it's GitHub education. I'm not sure.
I just said hackathon in general. You don't have to go through some official organization or follow some official format. You can just do your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, with hackathon, Igor means just regular event that you organize, people get together, you probably get some more experience, people that can help others. And
I think Josh organized several here, so maybe you can talk to him afterwards and get some ideas. It's very easy. It doesn't require any energy.
It's not that easy.
It's a lot of hard work, but if you do it, then it's very rewarding.
Can I ask what the situation is with lazy loading?
In 1x or 2x?
1.3.
There are hacks how you can achieve it. They've been posted through various blogs and I think both some gist and stuff.
yeah, I saw actually one guy, Paris, she was showing me, he has like project, lazy loading for Angular.
There are several ones. The one I know that I would recommend for big apps is OverMindJS, which goes a little further than just lazy loading. It actually allows to partition the application into sub-applications and basically do like a nested routing within these sub-applications. So OverMindJS, you can check that one. We didn't build in lazy code loading into Angular initially because, like, honestly, the apps that people were building were not that big, and the mobile was not like the top priority. So there wasn't high need for it, and it really complicates the design and many things to worry about. In 2.0, however, things are changing completely. We are focused on mobile, where you need less code loading, and also on enterprise large applications, where also lazy code loading is required, and this will be just built in. So you don't
Right. I think one of the reasons I like Angular, along with other people, is that it's testable and inherently testable from the code. How does testing look in version 2? Is that kind of change? Is it a lot easier? So unit testing directives can be a bit of a pain sometimes with the sort of digest side and stuff. Is that going to be cleaned up a bit, or is it looking different? Or sort of Jasmine syntax and stuff?
Jasmine it's not Jasmine syntax. We use Jasmine. We recommend Jasmine. We don't require that you use Jasmine. You can use whatever you want. But testability is one of the things that make Angular. It's not something you can drop, so it's going to be preserved. It's likely going to get better. The new DI system is better, so we'll be able to do some things that were not able to do before. But I wouldn't expect any major disappointments in the testability area, because that's something we are really passionate about and care about a lot. And we couldn't build large applications without good support for testability. This is something that Google will require.
No, I mean, I can't think of any change in the testability story.
We actually have some pretty cool ideas coming when it comes to extending the reach of testing to the areas of performance testing, testing of animations, and accessibility testing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So these are new things we'll be adding to the whole testability story.
But I think most of these things like bench press or the testing of animations, those are things that you could use in one.
Yeah. But it's just going to be more.
But I don't think the testing will get any more complicated in 2.0.
I've been relatively new to the team compared to you guys, and they're really passionate about testing. He created Karma for the thesis, and another team member created Protractor, both excellent testing frameworks. And so it's definitely going to be harder.
I actually don't know how to write software without listening to all over the place anymore. So I think it's impossible for us to make it into it's not really testable itself.
Hi. Are there any plans to make Angular officially available for more than JavaScript and Dart, say for ClojurScript?
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, I want it.
Well, so did you try it? Because I mean, I didn't try it, so I can't really talk. But ClojurScript at the end of the day compiles to JavaScript, and so at least in theory it should be possible. And if it's too hard, maybe we can improve that, to make it easier to do that. But I think in theory it should be possible. I've heard of projects of ClojurScript with Angular.
I don't have first-hand experience either, but I heard of people using ClojurScript.
And actually for 2.0, I hope, I would love to make it possible so that you can, if you use ClojurScript, and ClojurScript has something called persistent data structure, I would be really happy if we could let you simplify your checking and make it more efficient if you use ClojurScript because of persistent data structures, which allows us to do that. But that's still something that I was thinking about. We don't know. I'm not sure yet how to do that. So the point is that I think for 2.0, I hope this story might be even more interesting.
Can you talk a bit more about AppScript and whether you're just going to use that for building Angular, or whether we're going to be writing stuff in AppScript, and maybe when we're likely to see that coming out and be able to play with it?
AppScript is not a language.
No, I didn't say it was a language.
No, many people are hey, you're building this new thing and now they're going to force me to use this, you're crazy, whatever you're doing, and I don't want that. So, really what we're doing is, we like ECMAScript 6, we just missed two things. Actually, it's only one thing. We need annotations. We need metadata and type annotations to be able to do everything we want to do in the way we want it to do. And AdScript is the thing that allows us to do. So AdScript is really based on ES6 and TypeScript, because we use TypeScript syntax, and we actually talked to the TypeScript guys. They are really passionate, they like what we are doing, and we like what they are doing, so we're working together. So that we don't like create, all these like various dialects of JavaScript that people are going to be like, oh, what are you doing? So we're just building up. So if you think about it, it's JavaScript, on top of that is ECMAScript 6, on top of that is TypeScript. Not yet, but will be. They have some issues, but they are heading that direction. And AdScript is really on top of that. So all these things really just compose really well together. They're subset of each other.
And I think it's important to mention that you don't have to. I think we're very aware of like when you look past in the history of web development, it's pretty obvious that technologies that were like, all or nothing, like didn't really work. And so I think this is very gradual and very much like we will use it for writing Angular. And if you do, I think your code is going to be much prettier, but you don't have to. Like all the stuff that we're going to be doing in AdScript, it's just, you can express the same things in plain JavaScript, it's just going to
It's just
look a little bit
syntactic
more.
So you can do the same thing in PS5 or S6. It's going to be a little more verbose. So if you want slightly prettier syntax, you can use AdScript. If you don't want to be tied into something that you might not trust or like, then you can just use S6.
Could I use AdScript for 1.3?
That's an interesting question. I don't see why not. Like, we don't really build it for that, but AdScript is really generic language extension. So you could use it even without Angular completely. You could use it for something you're doing on Node.js, for example. And it's not tied to Angular. It just happens to be something that we want to build Angular and allow you to build Angular applications with if you choose to.
So I think to your question, you can use it, but I don't think you would get that much benefits from the annotations. You could get benefits from the type annotations, and so it's like the same. If you use TypeScript with Angular 1x or AdScript, it's kind of, you get the same benefits. And yeah, it's one of the things that we actually didn't talk about. We should probably have some sort of interface or type definitions for Angular 1x so that you can do like static type analysis or maybe even the runtime check. And yeah, so it would be like using TypeScript basically, which we already have the type annotations for TypeScript. So
the interesting thing is that if you build a framework around these annotations and type annotations being available, you can create APIs that you couldn't use before because you just couldn't express the things in the way. It's like if you look at ES6 classes, I think they are going to open up like interesting ways people use JavaScript that was not possible before because it was too verbose or just not natural. And the same thing is like if you look at argument structuring, I think that's going to be something that's going to like completely change the way how we think about APIs in JavaScript. So with this in mind, AdScript is also going to allow you to create APIs that are very natural to use because we have the power of annotations and we have the power of types.
And it's also good to know that we're not doing anything crazy. I mean, we're not removing parentheses or we are forbidding semicolons. I mean, it's annotations and it's already floating around in the ECMAScript.
So as I mentioned, TypeScript is very much interested in annotations, and like our intention is to, once we have this like a little more detailed try, go actually through the standardization process and propose this as extension to ECMAScript 2000 or something. I don't know how quickly that will happen, but that's the roadmap for AdScript. Like you don't want this to be just some isolated something that is just living its crazy life, but eventually we would like to show that this is actually a really powerful feature and should be part of the ECMAScript.
I mean, it's just different way of writing. Like annotation is just property the annotations on that function. Like if you have function foo and you do foo.annotations equals an array of things, that's what annotation is. It's just kind of a nicer way to write it.
Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of different languages, as you said. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's just everybody's a bit like, which one should I learn? Yeah.
Learn ECMAScript 6.
Yeah.
That's the really great foundation you can have for the future. And like TypeScript and AdScript, they're just tiny little syntax extrusion on top of that. Like once you know ES6, you're in a really good spot to just get to the next level very quickly.
And learn AdScript.
Not today.
Okay, we've got time for another couple of questions, and then we're going to break up into networking and chat with the guys. So,
I know. So Angular is pretty heavily promise based. Are there any plans to use the native promise API? So what's the status now?
We already have prototypes where we use the native promise APIs. It's like that's a general theme. Like we try to in Angular 2, we try to catch up with everything that happened on the web platform in the last 5 years when we started with Angular, and just get rid of as much as proprietary stuff as we can, and just base everything on standards so that people don't need to like have to deal with APIs that are specific to Angular. Like, we would like people to just really understand the web platform as much as they can, and then Angular will just help them be more productive on the web platform.
There were many features in one of the releases, like for instance, async validators, like things that we had to explicitly add a feature to Angular to make it so you could plug something in asynchronously. And now in the router, for instance, anything can be synchronous or asynchronous, so you don't have to worry about this.
one more question?
There's a guy.
Can you tell us more about the three different directives you're going to implement to version 2?
Sure. So there are three. There's a component directive, which is probably the most commonly needed scenario that people need to address. That's when you have a widget, for example, some sort of profile, tag, or stopwatch, or just any kind of widget where you have a single element that then expands to something that is visually meaningful to the user.
It doesn't have one.
Yeah, and usually it doesn't have to have, but like it's very unlikely that you can build a component that doesn't have that. Usually it has a visual representation, and it has an internal isolate scope. So this is like when you're building components, like you. No, but I'm explaining this in terms of 1x. Like in 1x, you have a directive that has a template, has an isolate scope, and has some bindings to outside to receive the data from outside of its internal context. That's a component. The other one is template directive. The template directive is less commonly used by developers. It's really the ng repeat, ng if, and things that allow you to change the structure of the DOM. And then the last one is decorated directive. And you can think of this as ng show or ng click. Yeah, we're not going to ng click in 2.0 because we have the generic binding to events. But in Angular 1, ng click is an example of that, or ng class. It's when you have an existing element or existing component and you're just adding extra functionality to that component. So we call that decorated directive. And these are the three scenarios that people need most often. There is one more that we are thinking about, which is like a macro directive, which allows you to create other directives. And this you can do this if you are using the replace true setting in the current Angular. That one we haven't completely figured out what corner cases, but there are really solid use cases for having that one. So I think we'll end up with 4, but right now we have set up 3 for sure, and we're figuring out the macro directive.
If you took a look at how people are using directives on mnemonics, and rather than have
you specify that you're building a component directive, and you just get the right defaults. You don't need to like think about all this option and that option. It's just gonna work. Because like often it even surprises us the combination of settings people use with directives. People file an issue like, oh, I have this component that has a template, is replacing itself. It has transclusion, it has isolate scope, and screams bloody murder when you click on it. So I'm like, really? I never thought of that combination of things together.
But I think you could think of it like if you have one X directive API, which is where there's so many config options. If you create like your own like wrapper, if you create like component directive and decorator directive, and once you call that, they just apply some of the default values. You know, like component directive will have template, decorator directive won't have template, it will have probably just linking function and stuff like that. It's basically trying to simplify the API to splitting it into like 3 the most common use cases, because we also figure out that like the NT-give and NT-repeat, people won't do this probably that often because it's very specific.
Like, it's really hardcore developers that have special needs on their projects, so we don't want to take this option and visibility away from them, but it's very uncommon that people need to build this kind of directive. But the other two that I mentioned